I'm very honored to have Murli here with me. As he said before, he has a very interesting history. He lived in very different places, and I think just by that he is very rich man and very wise. And he's also an author and also got a lot of prizes with his writing, and he's very kind to be here today sharing with us all his skills. So Murli Melwani, that's how you pronounce. He's headed of an export office in Taiwan for 25 years. His duties include travel to various countries to canvass orders for his company. He regards his stories as a gift of his travels. He's the author of 4 collections of short stories: Ladders Against the Sky, available in the Foster City Library, a 3-act and 2 books of literacy criticisms. Murli's work was featured in the India's National Academy of Letters, the Sahitya Academy, I'm saying right, seminar on ethic Sindhi writers who have contributed to the literatures of languages other than their mother tongue, and selected as a winner at the International Impact Book Award. Please welcome Murli.
Thank you, Debbie, for such a wonderful introduction. And my friends, good afternoon, and I'm so happy that you could make time on a weekday to come and listen to me. I am highly encouraged by you. The subject of my talk is the joys of writing. There are many species in the world. Think about the skylark. Think about the nightingale. These birds have inspired poets. Then we have our faithful dogs and cats. And is that okay now? It's still louder?
Come a little closer.
No, the gentleman in the last seat.
He's asking, I'm not hearing it microphone. I'm not hearing it amplified.
Come closer.
Amplified and amplified?
Can you do it, Debbie?
Yeah, just come closer to it. You just need to be a little
Just
closer.
in front of it, okay.
Okay.
It is on.
So, most of these beautiful creatures communicate by sound, and there is more variety in nature. Think about dolphins, think about whales. They communicate in a very sophisticated language of whistles and underground calls. Human beings are the only species that communicate by sound made visible as words and as writing. Words are a form of communication, and human beings use this medium of communication. If you look, writing informs so many everyday activities, from writing an email, composing a tweet, or even sitting down to pen an old-fashioned letter. There are extraordinary aspects to writing also. To give some examples, children's books, novels, poems, operas, and other recordings. So, writing plays a very important part and role in our lives. Now, human beings usually live in 3 time zones, but not simultaneously. We live in the past. Like I tell my wife Mona, what a wonderful time we had when we went on a cruise to Alaska. And in the present, which is now. Do you need an example for this? Because I'm talking to you ladies and gentlemen, so I'm existing in the present now. And as for the future, I have told my son and daughter and their families that when Elon Musk colonizes Mars, we may think of moving over there. Now, as the saying goes, the past is a cancelled check. The future is a promissory note. The present is cash in hand. So, the question is, how do we always continue to hold cash in hand? I'm not suggesting that you guys rob a bank, and this is where journalism comes in. The question then is, what do you put in a journal? You put your thoughts, you put your feelings, you put your joyous memories, you observe your children growing up, and in all forms, the journaling allows you to live in the present. And when we live in the present, we don't hanker for something that cannot be created again. We do not chase a pie in the sky. And the journals have another use, and that use is that we can hand them down as memoirs for our children and grandchildren. I don't know at what age I fell in love with books. I'm not talking about any kind of love. I'll have to ask my wife that. So, but by the age of 16, I had graduated from being a bookworm to a library worm. And now I have an interesting episode there, and since one member of the book club is here, I hope she will excuse me for repeating it when I share to others. Thank you. So, I grew up in a city, in a small town, Shillong, which is in the northeast corner of India, bordering Myanmar and China. In those days, they did not have security cameras as we have now. And in the public library in Shillong, they had a wizened old veteran. Every day at 7:55, he would go around the hallway, thumping his baton on the ground and saying, "We leave in 5 minutes, we leave in 5 minutes." I was sitting very comfortably in an armchair, not like you guys are sitting on hard chairs. Okay, and then I had reached a very interesting point in the book. So I thought to myself, in the next 5 minutes, I will be able to read a few more pages. The next thing I noticed was that I saw the moon shining through the wall windows. I looked at my watch, 10:30 p.m. Now, I'm not a saint, but I uttered a mild 4-letter word. And I spent the rest of the evening alternating between dozing off and reading a few pages. In the morning, I sneaked into one of the restrooms, and in 2 minutes I came out with my chest puffed as if I have just entered the library. Now, books took me to foreign countries. The real travels in my life were to come much later. And the other thing about books is they don't laugh at you, they don't make fun of you. Now, some of you might ask, how is that? Let me tell you. At that time, I was more than overweight, and my classmates used to call me Humpty Dumpty, Fatty Bambalati, and other such choice names. The origin of why I was overweight is interesting also. I'll share it with you. The brochure of our school said that they turn out well-rounded personalities. My parents took the words a little too literally and they started feeding me choice foods. Now, books also inspired me to try my hand at writing. But I wrote about such subjects as a fool and his money are soon parted, or the other topic I wrote on the art of wasting time, which was my pastime. And then, however, I noticed that I was using 30 words where 7 or 8 words would suffice. So, in other words, my writing was prolix. I took my essays to my English teacher and showed my essays and articles to him. He said, he read them and he said, don't worry, as you mature, your writing will be muscular. I thought to myself, what kind of advice is this? But here's the irony. Time proved my teacher right. Now, I remember one of the prolix sentences that I wrote, and I will repeat it here. A domesticated creature within the family of Canidae, which also includes wolves, foxes, and gloves, repositioned himself on the woven material outside the door. When I look back, what a complicated way of saying our dog sat on the mat. So I had to gradually do something about my prolixity. However, when I felt that my writing was muscular, I started writing short stories. But I wanted to make sure that the readers would like them. So I put them through an editorial hurdle. I started sending stories to the popular magazines in India. My logic was this, that if the editor read it and published it, I knew the readers would like it. But if I received a small note saying, with our compliments and regrets, I knew that I had to polish them. And that is when I formulated my idea of that all writing is rewriting. To give you an example, if I read a story or an article which I had written the previous day, I would look for words and sentences which I could sort of make more expressive. Now, at that time, I was living in India. I would teach at Shankardev College in the morning, in the daytime, and in the evening, I would attend to the bookshop I had set up. I want to tell you honestly that I set up the bookshop so that my reading could come free, and it did. Now, I started writing short stories when I felt, short stories were being published in India, and so I was encouraged and I felt confident to send them to overseas. I sent them to magazines in the USA, UK, Hong Kong, and Singapore. They accepted my stories, published them. In fact, one editor of a US magazine called Spindle nominated my story, which some of you might have read, The Head of a Chicken, for the Pushcart Prize in 2012. Next year, the editor of another US magazine, Enzigam, nominated another story, The Havana of the East, for the same prize in 2013. However, neither of the stories were published over there. Now, but around the same time, although they were not published overseas, a lot of anthologists would pick up these stories from magazines, or one or two of them would write to me, and then they would include them in their anthologies, the very various anthologies that you can see here. And about my age, this is ageless authors, so you can imagine what it wrote that story. Now, I made a mid-career change and moved to Taiwan with my wife Mona, my son Arvind, and my daughter Arpan. It was a sort of a leap into the unknown. However, the Taiwanese people are very warm and very welcoming. One of my duties used to travel to foreign countries, including the USA, South and Central America, and South Asia also, with the purpose of meeting clients and booking orders for my company. What I found was the history and the culture of these countries was very fascinating, and it became a source of ideas and backgrounds for me. In the stories that I read, the countries that I traveled to, if I look back at them, they were a very rich experience for me, and to borrow Debbie's words, the books are the gift of my travels. Thank you for allowing me to plagiarize you. Okay. Now, in 2016, I selected 23 stories from my portfolio of stories and started looking for a publisher. A boutique publisher in India, Kaziranga Books, accepted my manuscript and brought it out with an elegant cover. I'm honored to say that the Foster City Library carries copies of this particular book, and I find that I think some of you have read these stories. I know Bart has, and the stories are such that they are. I'll give you a little background. The stories set in the US and Canada talk about displacement and change. The stories set in South and Central America and South Asia present expatriates molded by the cultural and historical ethoses of those countries. It was rich material for me, definitely. Now, in this book, Ladders Against the Sky, I'm not praising my stories, but what I want to say that the themes, that the narrative tone changes from story to story. For instance, a story like The Melwani Marriage takes a satirical look at arranged marriages. And another story, T-Star Holiday, contrasts human endurance with the fury of the nature. Another story there, Rich in Hong Kong, that's the title, is about a man who molds his personality as a arrogance-laced person. And there's one other story which I'll comment on, and that is The Head of a Chicken. It is about a man who drops all scruples in order to reach the top. Now, Devi mentioned in the flyer that another collection of mine, beyond the
Rainbow.
Rainbow, won the 2025 International Impact Book Award. I'm very honored with the honor, and I hope to place this at the Foster City Library, but it might take some time because they take a long time to sort of evaluate it. So, and it's good they evaluate it so that the readers get good material to read. Now, this book is about an ethnic community which lives as a diaspora. A little historical perspective will help you to understand the background of this story. When the British, who colonized India for 200 years, decided to leave it, they divided the country on the basis of religion, Muslim and Hindu. Now, the word Hindu is a kind of a blanket term. It includes Buddhists, Sikhs, and other non-Muslim communities. Both the states were on the western side, Punjab and Sindh. So in 1947, when they drew the line, there was a huge exodus of Hindu Sindhis, Punjabi Hindus, Sikhs. When they came to India, they got in touch with their contacts overseas, and most of them were able to migrate overseas. So the stories in this particular book focus more on the Hindu Sindhis. For instance, they look at the loss of culture, language, and identity of the Hindu Sindhis who moved to a foreign country. Also, they talk about characters who have sort of assimilated with or sort of have made themselves at home in their foreign environment. But the children born overseas to these people cannot speak their...
Pause it. Just pause for a minute.
You see, there are a lot of comic moments in my life. Now, you have proof of it. Has he gone already?
No, he's gonna come back. Just...
Yeah.
He's there. He's almost done.
Almost done. When he's done, I'll say thank you.
He's writing with a different pen.
Okay. It's a different pen. My friend Narayan says he's writing with a different pen. So true.
Okay, I think you're ready.
Yeah. Thank you, different pen. Yeah. So, the children cannot, born overseas cannot speak their mother tongue, though they are fluent in the local language. Now, language is not only an instrument of communication. Language has a direct connection to culture and ancestry. And these children born to Hindu Sindhis overseas have lost that particular connection. Now, I was humbled and honored when the National Academy, as Devi mentioned again, Sahitya Academy, on March 9th and 10th, 2022, selected 10 Sindhi authors who have contributed to the literatures of languages other than their mother tongue. One of them was British, one of them was a Hong Konger, one of them was Canadian, and there was Sindhi American also, yours truly. So now, with the Saratyaga Academy, this book got a bit of a boost. Now, although I have the topic of my talk is the joys of writing. Writing also gifted me many friendships. Readers would write to me. We would exchange emails. We would share thoughts, and ultimately, these let's say acquaintances became friends. Writing also helped me to connect with like-minded people in different countries. And also at this time, what I did was I started doing tandem reading with people in different countries. My friend and I would select a common book. Both of us would read it at the same time. Then after a few days, we would exchange our thoughts and impressions and what the effect the book had on us. With this, what I learned was that I had missed out some insights which my friend had pointed out. And then I mentioned this to my friend. My friend said that he had also missed out certain insights which I had shared with him. So the point of tandem reading is it becomes an exchange of insights. So it's a very pleasant exercise to do. Now, yes, to change track, there's a saying that every man is allowed one craziness. Mine was, I'm saying the past tense, I'm not saying is this. I took 27 years to write a book. The title of that book is The Indian Short Story in English. Now, what happened in India was that with the British, when the British came to India, they decided to, they made a contribution to the Indian education, and their contribution was to tailor Western form of education through the medium of English. And so as English spread, a lot of Indians started writing in English. They wrote novels, they wrote poems, they wrote plays in English. But English did not replace the native languages. In fact, the prominent books published in the vernacular languages were translated into English. And so to that extent, the English did help, and even now, if you look at it, English at some point was made part of the Indian Constitution, and it has helped a lot of people also. Then, as I said, I'll come back to my project. As I said, we are allowed one craziness. So now over there, if we look at Indian life, because of tradition and culture, Indians conform because of this. But the real drama lies under the surface, and it is found in the lyrical moments, in the general moments, and even in the tragic moments of Indian life. So most of the books, like the novels, have when they focus on the bigger picture, on we get multi-generational novels, but we do not get what is below that surface of the conformed surface. This is where the short story comes in, because the short story is very porous and it can capture the nuances of everyday life under the surface. So I started, I said, when I found, at that time I looked around, and this was in the 1990s, I found there were books of literary criticism on novels written in English by Indians, on anthologies of poetry written by Indians, and plays written in English. There was no commentary on the Indian short story. Maybe one of the causes is that sometimes the short story is regarded as the stepchild of literature. So when I thought about this, I said, well, I'm being given an opportunity to fill that gap. All of you have heard that fools rush in where angels fear to tread. So it is only at that point that I realized the magnitude of the project that I had taken up. But I said, okay, you know, one of my habits is that I'm a bit obstinate. So I said, no, I'm not going to give up this task. So I started.
Can I ask questions?
A little
On
later.
the end.
I still have much much to say. I can't help it because
Go ahead.
my father went to my drama teacher and he said, don't give the mic to Murli, you'll never get it. so I still have some recollections to share, and then I'll open up the questions and answers. And so I realized the magnitude of what I had undertaken. So I started collecting as many collections of short stories written by Indians in English, and started reading them and making notes. Now, did I tell you that? Yeah, I told you that we moved to Taiwan. So when I moved to Taiwan, there was only in those days one English bookstore, but the bookstore sold only books which teach English or learn English. The situation changed after I settled down over there. So in the meantime, how could I get these books for my study? I started ordering them from India, and when some of my friends from Taiwan would visit India, I would give them lists to buy and bring back these books. So my workbooks started getting thicker and thicker, and finally, when I moved in 2007 to Taiwan, to Texas, I had the leisure to sit down and change those notes into books, into a book. And that book was the Indian short story in English. The Indian edition had a different cover. I don't have it. So, and then it was published in 2019. Now, around that time, when I wrote this book, I chose a non-academic approach. That means I wrote it without footnotes, without cross-references, and all the other academic requirements. So, and why did I do this? My target was the common reader. And the irony, life is full of ironies, the irony was the book appealed instead of to the general reader, it appealed to research scholars, students, and teachers. I'm happy about the irony, of course. So, but and then it did very well. It got very good reviews, and there is a review in this book. It was a magazine published from London. I'll just read one sentence from there. Melwani's distinction lies in working on a portfolio of writers and short stories, and thus walking and clearing a path on a road seldom walked in literary studies in India. Now, then what happened was that by 2009 I had published that book. In 2015, the print edition ran out. So I wrote to my publisher that please bring out a reprint. He said, no, you have to update it from 1980 to at least 2010, but certainly up to 2015. Now, I had spent 27 years on my first baby. I felt I didn't have the stamina to go on, so no, I said no. So he was not interested in a reprint, and so I said, okay, let's let it be that way. And now over here I will tell you that I found that since there was no print, there is an organization, there's a website really in San Francisco called academia.edu. It's like the internet airline. So in 2019, I uploaded the PDF of my book, The Indian Short Story in English. According to the records of my Indian publisher, the book sold 1,250 copies in 6 years. Now, from 2019 to 2025, there have been 3,100 hits on academia.edu. So, my suggestion to you is, if any of you have written any essays, any stories, any kind of writing, you can put it on academia.edu, and you will find that you will have a wider readership. And now, Debbie, I'm giving you your chance to talk. Since I had monopolized it all along.
No problem. My question, I'm curious to know, when you write something, you write in your native language or you write in English today?
No, the problem is I was born in Shillong because my parents had left Sindhi. We would speak Sindhi at home. I can speak Sindhi, but I can't read it nor write it. And at a very young age, my parents put me in a missionary school. The school was run by the Christian Brothers of Ireland. And so over there, the quality of the education was very high, so that I think in English and I write in English. I can't write in my mother tongue. I can speak it at home brokenly.
Right.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Murli, you write about a diverse number of topics, good deal dealing with the human condition, and you have a diverse readership. Do you have to consciously write so that the diversity in readership can understand the central themes of your writings, or is that something that you hope just happens?
No, it doesn't happen. And it's a good question, sir. Coach, because he's my coach, as I will introduce him as my coach. So, what happens is that now I'm admitting you into a writer's workshop. I might be sitting at the airport and I might have a casual conversation with a stranger or a fellow traveler. Or if when I went to these countries, I saw, like in Thailand, I saw that an Indian man from America who had divorced his family started educating a bar girl, and the bar girl changed completely. So I see the incidents where I go, if they strike me, that is the first step. And after that, coach, what I do is my imagination comes into play. I begin to imagine what that person would look like. and I start coloring in my mind the background of a particular person. Then, since I'm aware of the economic and cultural ethos of these countries, I see his place in society. And then, along with that, I put it down. But as I said, all writing is rewriting. I go back to it, I go back to it, I go back to it, until I feel that yes, it is an accurate portrait of the idea which occurred to me. And in the process, when I send it out, I get some rejections also, but I get some acceptances also. But it is like observing life. One of my friends said that, how much of yourself, Richard, can I tell them that how much of yourself do you put into the story? I said no. I let my imagination do it, and I don't put, you will not see my good or bad qualities in the characters. So that is how it works. And I'll be very happy to answer more questions.
Did you have like a...
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Oh, sorry.
He picked up his hand first. Yes, yes, Richard.
Oh, okay, yeah. What was my question? Oh, my question, growing up in Shillong, in between your all-nighters at the library, was there a mentor or a person that really influenced you as you were growing up and helped you develop as a writer?
Yes, that is true. Because as I mentioned in my talk, that I took my essays to my English teacher, and the English teacher happened to be Brother Karan. And he was my drama teacher also. And as I told you, my father went to the drama teacher and said that don't give the... So he was a deep influence on me. And when I showed him the essays, and I thought, oh, what sort of advice is this? But when life proved that he was right, he had a very strong influence on me. So yes, and just as our relations and friends influence us, our teachers also influence. And I remember him with a lot of gratitude, because he showed me a direction and he shaped me. Thank you, Richard, for asking the question. You had a question.
I think he beat me to it. That was the same question I had too. But I also wanted to know, does this run in the family? Do any of your family members write as well?
No, my niece is a painter. She's in Bombay. She's a very good painter. And I have another niece in New Orleans who's a voracious reader. She doesn't write. So these are the only two things. And the other thing was that I grew up as a very lonely person, very introspective, and that is why I suppose I looked into myself far too much. Yes?
What criteria do you use to give a title of a book or the poetry?
That's a very good question. I go through this story and I say that, okay, which item from this story will be suitable? I'll give you the example of how I chose the head of a chicken. The character over there works under the boss, and then he sort of goes out, takes up his clients, and starts setting up in business. Then among the Chinese, there's a saying that it is better to be the head of a chicken than the tail of an ox. Am I correct, Jen? Yes, thank you. So that is how, because this man, he was ambitious, no scruples. So that is why Chinese, the saying was very expressive, and that's why I made it the title of the... Yes, sir?
About your writing, do you have a discipline that you assign certain hours every day to sit by yourself and write, or it just comes to you?
Like I said earlier, it comes like if you go into, I had said in Thailand, there was a man who started getting the bar girl to give her a good education so that she could rise in life. Or, as I said, if I'm sitting in the transit lounge and I have a conversation with someone, these are random things. And also one thing which I couldn't tell Coach Marty is that often there are reports, newspaper reports about certain events, and this mostly in India. And then when I was in college, every year during the winter holidays, the college used to take us for excursions around the country. So I'm familiar with a lot of places, and so I would put the background against that, against a character which had seen another place, but I thought it would fit better in India. So it will be like match and mix. I mean, there are certain ladies who do good cooks, so they will tell me why Max and Mitch works very well. Am I right? Yes, sir.
Just a follow-up. You mentioned you spent 23 years to finish one book. How these 23 years?
27 years. Yeah, because the problem was getting the books. I was in Taiwan at that time, and as I told you, I had to get the collections from India. Then I had to ask my friends to bring them. And then I was also working in my business, traveling on behalf of the company. So I would make notes and keep writing, and the ideas that I would get, I'd keep putting them in the workbooks. And it took me 27 years to put all that together. And it's when I came to Texas, I had the time, and I put all those together. And going through so many workbooks also required me to recall certain things, recall certain stories. So all that took time. So let us say it was a form of editing, which it was not so much the writing of the book, it was so much as the editing of the book which took so much time. Yes?
Have the books been published in other languages?
Only one book was published in Italian, and what was it? I forget the title.
Did you run into difficulty when a book goes into a different language in terms of the way the story flows or the message?
Because I can't read Italian, so so I don't know how much distortion or how much this thing, because they might have been adapting it to their situation, taking the character's personality and putting it against a background, an Italian one. So only one book has been published in another language, and none others. Yes, sir.
Yeah, well, we're in this room with art, and it occurred to me that back when Dickens was writing, there were illustrations often in his work. Have you ever thought to do illustrations of any sort in your stories? Is it something that you or some friend of yours might do?
So for one thing, I'm not a good artist. Sometimes I can hardly read my own writing, and it never occurred to me. But he was a giant. Dickens was a giant, and he had a tremendous sense of humor. Because in one story he writes that when the horse carriage was going, the horse had a tendency to move one side, and then it would move on another side. So he had a great sense of humor, Dickens. In fact, Dickens and Shakespeare made a difference to English literature. Yes.
So I've read all your books as your son. Which is your favorite story of all your stories that you've written?
Okay. Yeah, there is one in the Rainbow about how Sindhi loses his geographical bearings and then goes as it's like behind the rainbow. So that in that story I can talk about how much they have lost during the cultural this thing. So that is my favorite story. And there's another favorite story of mine. It is this. When I was young, I had a certain favorite dish which my mother used to make on Sunday. Now, one morning, one Sunday, she said she won't make it. I said, if that's the case, I'm not eating anything. And what I did, she had an heirloom which in my anger, I broke on the thing down. So of course she was very hurt. My father scolded me also. But then the following Sunday, she said, okay, I'll make dish for you, but you have to do what I say. I said, okay. So she took me to the Sikh temple, and in the Sikh temple, when you go in, you have to take off your shoes outside. They keep someone to look after the shoes. Usually those are small boys. So my mother told me, there was another boy there. She said, show him what you do. You take the shoe, you give out a ticket, you put it in the pigeonhole. When they come, you do it. But the difference was this. I began to read personalities through their shoes. Like if I remember a very torn slipper, and then I said, why can't the man buy a proper slipper? And then when I went out, I learned that he was a carpenter. So I visited his place and I saw how he had a makeshift shade and he was carrying it to his business over there. Then I would find some ladies wearing very beautiful shoes. And then I realized, oh, she's the wife of a contractor who's making a road at so-and-so place. So it gave me an insight to different dramas of life, of how people live. And I saw that there was more suffering than joy in life. And so I became more sympathetic to whatever I said. Otherwise, as the first son, I was a spoiled child who broke the mother's heirloom. So that experience in a place of worship gave me an insight into a whole life before me, and it definitely changed me. Yes?
Is it more difficult to write short stories than a whole book? Is it more difficult to write short stories?
Yes, because in a short story, we have to condense many events, whereas if you write a longer piece of work, you can spend a lot of time on the background, you can spend a lot of time that what the character was doing, you can talk about the character's leisure hours, about how the character spent time with the family. But in a short story, there has to be more suggestion about everything, because a short story by nature it has to be very compressed, and so it is hard to write short stories, and whereas it's easier to write novels and longer books. That's what I feel. Yes, sir.
What was your experience with the publishers?
Publishers. The publishers are very fussy. They will say you change this, and some publishers say that look, unless you bear some of the cost, we are not going to do it. But I say no, I don't do it, and some books are still not published, they are in manuscript form. And so with publishers, like I told you, on that book about the royalty, he said over 6 years it sold 1,250. I trust his royalty document and I get whatever little he wants to pay me. So publishing is a business also, and they do take, not all, there are some ethical publishers, I'm not saying they are not ethical. There are some publishers who take advantage of their thing, but the bigger publishers give a royalty as per the contract. But in India, there's nothing like an advance. Like in America, an author can ask for an advance or gets an advance. Yes?
How to protect your writing? For example, you send it to publisher or you show somebody else and they can copy it, or
it has happened once or twice to me. It was a short piece I had written in a newspaper, and I found that it was the words of mine, but it was of D.P. Simpson. So I wrote to the Statesman. I said that, look, I had sent you this on, that how come it has been published under a different name? Then they wrote back, they were honest. They said that it is a new sub-editor who is working, and they apologized to me. So to that extent, they are ethical.
In the context of we can upload ourselves, right? Do we really need the publishers if you write it, and how relevant in the current context?
Say that again.
In the
sir.
current context of internet.
Yeah.
So do we really need to wait for the publisher to publish it, or why can't we ourselves do it?
We can do it. Amazon is a great place where you can publish it, and you do get royalties from there, and that would be a good way to go. And the other way is there's a place called Design to Design. Bart, what is it? Design to Design?
Draft to digital.
Pardon?
Draft to digital.
Yeah, Draft to Digital. You can publish it on that also. And but Amazon is a very good place to publish a story or book, whatever book you're carrying. And there are a lot of others also. A small fry, you can't trust them. So Amazon is good. They give you the royalties on time. They remind you. And what my friend Bart told you, these are two very good places to publish your book. Yes, sir.
When are you going to finish your memoir already?
Remember, as I told you, writing is rewriting. And so I have been doing that. And when it is done, it is more or less complete. But I'm very finicky. So I want to work on it a little more, and then I will get it published. My friend has read my memoir, and he knows all the bad sides of my nature. Any more questions? So I want to, acknowledgements are very important. And so, like a runner always needs another runner to pace him. In sporting terms, they are known as hares, H-A-R-E. I want to thank two of the three hares who are here. My close friend, Richard Needham, he paced me very well. He was a wonderful hare. And my son, Arvind, who has paced me also. My daughter did it, but she's not in town now. But I'm doing the best, and thank you. Thank you, sir.